Well, good evening and welcome to our continuing coverage of the gusty winds, the frigid cold, and the winter storm warning in effect across the Portland area. So far, the big trouble has been those heavy winds bringing down trees and knocking out power, with thousands across the metro area already in the dark. And as we move through the evening hours, we're going to be adding in the snow, the sleet, and eventually that freezing rain, making for what are likely to be treacherous conditions. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. We're getting ready for the first snowflakes to start falling in the next few hours as we begin what is likely to be a messy couple of days across our region. We have team coverage tonight with reporters tracking the storm, the latest on our roads, and travel troubles already surfacing at PDX. We begin, though, with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino in the Weather Center. Matt, a lot of questions about the ice. So what's the latest on the timing here? We're beginning to see some light snow and freezing rainfall in parts of western Oregon as close to Portland as McMinnville and even Newberg, and that's going to be rolling in. So we may get some light snow flurries anytime now, really. If you look at Doppler radar, I'll show you that. But the real problematic precipitation should wait until later on tonight and then turns to freezing rain in the overnight hours. It's cold, 22 degrees. And yes, we can get something besides snow when it's 22 degrees. Easily you can get sleet or freezing rain because there's a warm layer above us that's allowing the snowflakes from the clouds to melt into rain before they refreeze in the cold air that we're all experiencing right now. Here's Doppler radar, and you can see there's just this band that's moving across parts of now Washington and Yamhill County. It's pretty light precipitation. It's mainly snow from McMinnville up towards Hillsborough. You should start seeing a few snowflakes falling out of the sky. Hillsborough, even Beaverton, and then eventually just edging into Portland anytime now. This is very light. I don't think there'll be many issues with this band of precipitation, but what follows is ice, and it's already freezing rain at the coast from Astoria down to Newport. East winds are continuing right now. They're sustained at 30 miles an hour at Troutdale. The gusts have been over 80 miles an hour in the gorge. The wind chills there have been below zero. The good news about the wind is it's going to begin to slacken a little bit tonight. It's not going to go away, but then during the day tomorrow, it's going to back off quite a bit. However, the cold air will remain for a while. So our latest model guidance on the ice accumulation is about 3/10 of an inch in Portland, 1/4 of an inch Salem, and then lesser to the south and more as you go to the gorge. Other models indicating less than this, so I think it'll be between 1/10 of an inch. That's the best case scenario, that we escape this whole thing with only 1/10 of an inch of ice. We'd be super lucky, but upwards of 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch is also certainly within the envelope of possibilities. The gorge, very consistent. The guidance showing about 1 inch of ice from Multnomah Falls to Cascade Locks, now towards Hood River. You're going to get several inches of snow there and then turn to ice. So for Portland and Vancouver, snow, sleet will begin in earnest about 8 to 10 p.m. and then the precipitation will keep going. It'll change from sleet to freezing rain in the overnight hours, and we'll be looking at freezing rain on and off through most of, in fact, all of the day tomorrow, David. We will take that glimmer of good news on the winds, though. Thank you, Matt.
I was sitting watching TV, looking out the window at all the wind across the trees, and all of a sudden, kaboom! My neighbor's tree fell, came within about 6 to 8 inches of killing me.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I need to go up and have him look at my leg and stuff. I got clobbered here with a limb and this.
Yeah, he is okay. A remarkable story out of southeast Portland today. You just heard Gary Worthington. He was at home around noon when that tree suddenly crashed down. It pinned him inside in his recliner. Rescue crews quickly responded. They were able to pull him out, to walk him out his garage. He has some minor injuries, but overall is doing okay. Now, fire crews pointed to the winds for toppling the tree. Gary's working now with his insurance company to try and secure his home before the snow and ice hit. Wow, we're glad he's all right. All right, let's bring in Evan Watson now in northeast Portland, because Evan, with the wind, we have seen trees tumbling all over the place, in spots taking out power lines, including where you are in northeast. What's the latest there?
Yeah, here in Irvington, David, we've got this tree behind me, which has now been cut in half. Power crews worked on this all day long after it fell early this morning, maybe around 5:30 or so. Now, most homes here in this area do have power back, but a few still have the lights out as of right now. But I talked to a 12-year-old boy who's right across the street from me right now, who woke up to the sound of this tree crashing. And he said, hey, that's quite a way to start a morning. In northeast Portland, you can see signs of the wind's wrath just about everywhere. Baby Jesus and the nativity scene has collapsed, but Will Ferrell's elf is standing strong. Small porch decorations are toppled over. So too is this massive fir tree. Leave it to 12-year-old Miles Ogden to describe.
So I woke up when I heard a giant boom, and I live right, like that's my room right there. So I look out my window and I just see it look like lightning, like 30 shocks.
He says he's glad his neighbors weren't home and power lines stopped it from falling into their house.
I feel grateful, but also kind of annoyed that the power's cut because like this is the third or fourth time this has happened in 2 years.
This corner in the Irvington neighborhood is one of many spots around Portland in need of power crew attention, and we're just getting started.
Well, I'm kind of dreading tonight because the ice storm hasn't hit yet, and that's what really takes the power out around here. So I think I'm going to heat up the house and hope for the best.
John Ashworth lost power for a few hours this morning. He thinks it may go out again, but hopes it's back on for Christmas Sunday.
Not a real good feeling. I think a bunch of people here are going to be pretty hard hit.
In southwest Portland, near Jesuit High School, Corey Knapp's front yard tree snapped for the second time today. It caused a power outage earlier.
Just as we were talking, as you were driving by, it all came down onto the street right here. So
Knapp's power was restored, but now he's worried the tangled mess will cause another outage. He's already the unenviable neighbor whose tree caused the first problems.
feeling pretty special right now, of course. I'm sure all the love around the neighborhood.
And while Miles Ogden hopes for power, warmth, and safety for his neighbors, he also has that magical mindset of a 12-year-old boy.
I'm hoping that it won't be like a full-on snowstorm, but another part of me wants it to be a snowstorm because like our entire neighborhood loves sledding.
Now, this is far from the only spot around Portland and the surrounding areas where a tree caused a power outage today or other issues like that, as we've seen here in the last couple of minutes. But PGE reports about 6,000 people are without power right now from about 150 outages, and the concern is this could happen more and more frequently over the coming days. So the preparations there, of course, very key. David?
Evan Watson tracking the numbers for us. Thank you, Evan. A reminder, if you see a down power line, do not approach it. Call 911. In this deep freeze, though, severe weather shelters, including the Oregon Convention Center, are keeping their doors open to anybody and everybody, essentially until things thaw out. Brian Clerkley is downtown at Pioneer Courthouse Square. Brian, there are lots of options out there. It sounds like they are all in high demand.
Yes, people are taking advantage of these cold weather shelters just because it is so cold outside. We went to 2 today and they were both full. They're not turning anyone away, and a lot of these shelters are open 24/7. And some of the people we spoke to say that, you know, these shelters are life-saving.
So imagine how cold it'd be, you know, at like 1 in the morning, you know, when there's nothing that's open, you can't go nowhere, you know. Even sometimes during the day, being homeless, you can't walk into places.
A bitter cold day brought Kenny Hunter to this Salvation Army severe weather shelter in Hillsboro. There are 30 beds available inside, and they are all being used. There's hot food and pets are allowed. Vietnam veteran John Hopkins has been homeless for more than 2 years. He's been living out of his truck and decided it was too dangerous to sleep inside during this cold snap. He has one word to describe living on the streets in the winter.
Miserable. That's an understatement. And I've seen folk that actually shouldn't be stuck in that scenario because they don't have the proper gear. And thank goodness for this place. That's about the only thing that's keeping these folk alive.
Outreach teams in the community are picking up vulnerable people and bringing them to shelters like this one in Hillsboro. It will be open 24/7 through Christmas Eve, but that could change if the weather stays cold.
So we don't want anybody out on the streets tonight. If you need a hot, warm place to stay, let us know and come see the Salvation Army. We'll take care of you.
Over in Multnomah County, the Sunrise Center is acting as a cold weather shelter. People can sleep here overnight or stay for a couple hours. The shelter is full for overnight beds. It holds 50 people. It will be open until at least Friday.
It's warm, there's coffee, there's hot chocolate, warm meals, and also just a place to be around people, support them.
Back in Hillsboro, Hopkins said he's feeling grateful.
It gives me a chance to warm up and get somewhat of a direction I don't have to go. But that's the way it goes.
The Reynolds High School gym is open as a cold weather shelter now. And if anyone has any questions about where these shelters are or how to get there, they can call 211. David?
And you can understand why, considering some spots we're seeing single-digit or below zero wind chills right now. Thank you, Bryant. Let's talk about holiday travel. The departures board at PDX is lighting up, showing cancellations and delays at this point, mostly due to weather in other parts of the country that once in a generation storm forecasters are talking about, though some airlines have already called off flights for Friday here in anticipation of our ice storm. Let's bring in Cale Williams now at PDX. Cale, you've been talking to travelers trying to make it out for Christmas. What's the mood like tonight?
Well, it really depends on who you ask. Like you said, we've got a powerful storm coming in here in Portland, but there's also another one wreaking havoc at airports across the country. And so it's been a bit of a mixed bag. Some folks have gotten through just fine, others not so much. One of those less fortunate travelers was Joe Rock, a retired fisherman from Newport. He left home last night, hoping to avoid the worst of it.
And we come up last night because we thought it was going to be nasty.
And then what happened?
Now it's getting nasty.
His flight to Denver was one of nearly 3 dozen in and out of PDX that were canceled Thursday. Many of them were on Southwest, which set up a dedicated check-in lane just for passengers unable to fly.
I'm worried because I got all those Christmas presents that I'm not going to get.
Addie Piper, who was trying to get back home to Columbus, Ohio, was in the same boat.
They canceled it just right as we got here, so I waited in line for an hour to try to rebook it. They rebooked us to St. Louis on the 24th, but nothing from St. Louis to Columbus, so they're suggesting we just rent a car.
Of course, this is happening before the worst winter weather even arrives in Portland. So Kama Simons, a spokeswoman for the airport, said travelers should be prepared to rebook from home.
If your flight is canceled, you should stay home and try to contact your airline from home where you're safe and warm.
So I talked to Rock and his wife. They were able to book another flight on a different airline. Piper said she was going to try to do the same. But with snowflakes and ice beginning to fall around the Portland area, it is unclear just exactly how long anyone will have that option.
Yeah, I'll say a lot of uncertainty tonight. Cale Williams at PDX. Thanks, Cale. From the runways to our roads, transportation officials really have been unusually blunt here. Once the worst weather hits, they say do not travel because the consequences on ice could be deadly. Catherine Cook is out in Drive 8 tonight. Catherine, safety obviously the top priority here. So tell us where you are and what you're seeing right now.
Okay, David, right now we are in Drive 8 on Highway 26 in Hillsborough, and I can tell you about 30 minutes ago we started to see some drizzle come down. It's picking up a little bit and it's freezing on our windshield on impact. So we'll have to double check this with Matt Zaffino, but I'm pretty sure we're seeing some freezing rain out here in Hillsborough. Let me flip the camera so you can have a look at least at the roads. You can't really see our windshield here, but that's what the roads ahead look like. Fortunately, not a lot of traffic, so it looks like people are getting the message. Every transportation official we've spoken with has been warning and really pleading with drivers to stay off the roads. Both PBOT and ODOT are ready with sand and gravel, liquid de-icer, and salt when needed, but when it comes to freezing rain, there isn't a lot they can do to curb the impact that it'll have on driving. One ODOT spokesperson even said he's seen big, heavy trucks with chains and the most experienced drivers just skid right off the road in freezing rain. It's that dangerous. So here we go, back live on Highway 26. You can see the cars coming off. We're right pretty much in line with Hillsborough now. Just really hoping that people are just about where they need to be on these roads. And again, not a lot of drivers, which is comforting given what we know, but also kind of eerie, also considering that on any other night at this time, especially on this particular day, it would be bumper to bumper traffic. David.
Yeah, perspective there. Catherine Cook, stay safe out there tonight, seeing the first of what could be freezing rain hitting the metro area.